How's it going, everybody? This is something interesting. This is probably for a whole new crowd, but people who like science fiction and stuff like that might get a kick out of it. This is a magazine I used to get in the 90s and the late 80s. Let's see what's the date on this. Wow, this is 96. This is probably one of the last ones I got. I started buying them in like the late 80s, early 90s. The deal is, when I first got into UFOs, it was probably, I was in either fourth or fifth grade and come across the first UFO book I ever seen. It was in our elementary school library, believe it or not. Don't remember the name of it. But when I read it, it fascinated me, and I got into UFOs big time. And it was in Cheney Elementary, Florida, Orlando, Florida. If anybody's curious. I pretty much, after junior high, I kind of forgot about it. And we had gotten, in the late 80s, a Books A Million in our area. And I went in there, and I couldn't believe all the different magazines. There were hundreds of magazines of all kind of subjects. And I found this and a couple others that were being printed at the time. So I started buying them and got back into the UFO subject again. But one of the main things that got me into UFOs, other than that book in Cheney, was a couple of movies from the 70s. One that was on TV. It was called In Search of Ancient Astronauts with, what was his name? The guy from the Twilight Zone. This is 1973. And then there was another one called Journeys from Beyond Earth in the 70s also. And one that I always liked, it was one of my favorite movies about Bigfoot, was in 76, had Peter Graves, who was the narrator. It's called Bigfoot, the Mysterious, what was it called? Bigfoot, the Mysterious Monster. It was pretty cool. Anyway, let's check this out. Now this, I say, was in 96, so these stories are going to be from 96 and maybe some that are older. It's mostly black and white. It does have some color pictures in it. Like the cover, the inside cover here is pretty cool. Looks like a comet. Summer of 96, yep. Whoops. Okay. Okay, I think I got it straightened out. We'll just run through it real quick. Here's the guy who did it, Tim Beckley. This guy actually wrote one of my favorite. I've got a ton of paperbacks too on this subject, but he wrote one of my favorite books. I think it was him. The name sounds familiar. It was called The UFO Cover-Up, or something like that. And it was all a few stories, but most of it was, half the book was documents that had been released under the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, from the government. So that was a really cool book. I lent it to somebody and haven't gotten it back. I don't think I've got it back, but that was a really cool book. Probably about 300 pages. Yeah, let's see some of these here. Oh, I don't know if I want to zoom in anymore. I won't be able to see it. I have to move it around. It's kind of like the treasure book. Got to move it around to see it. Pilots and their encounters. This is what this is. This story. A few different deals. Look at those old computers and stuff. And of course, like any magazine, this has got a lot of ads in it to buy books and whatever. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. There we go. If I can keep it in the frame, it'll be all right. You'll be able to see some of it better. Okay. Then you look at the cover price. What is it? Can't remember. They were probably $3 or $4. Not sure. Doesn't say. But I've got quite a few of these things. I kept buying them for, when I discovered them, for probably, 3 or 4 years. And I should mention before that, back in the early 80s, my uncle had a few magazines that were published in the 80s. And he gave them to me. So, and up to that point, I didn't know that there had been any magazines of this subject being produced in the late 80s, early 90s, until that Books A Million came around. Because like I say, they had every magazine you could possibly think of. Even the one that George Carlin made famous, the book on running. Okay. Okay, who else we got here? That's the author of that. This is a cool looking observatory. Some other stories, it looks like. Individual accounts and whatever. Other than the famous stuff in here, like Roswell and whatever. These were all basically whatever was going on in the early to mid-90s at the time. Dealing with governments, there's one there. Hungary. Interviews with them, what they think, different people, high-ranking officials and whatever. This is one about apparently something that was found. 3.5 inches, said to be 200 million years old. Okay. An old painting. That's cool looking. Somebody drew that from an account, or an encounter, whatever. There's the Chupacabra. That was famous in the early 90s. Still was by 96. And I guess still is, but you still hear about it. Along with the cattle mutilations. I'm sure there's a few of these that have that in there. More than one magazine. But I do have quite a few of the paperback books that were made all through the 80s and the late 80s and early 90s, mid 90s. Because besides the Books A Million magazines, they had tons of books about this stuff too. And since then, that's a cool looking picture. That's an old picture too. I don't know where. Let's see, where is it from? I can't remember now. It's been so long. Germany, supposedly from Germany. They captured a critter. It's a neat photo. Of course, back then there was no such thing as Photoshop, so I like to see the negative on that photo. Of course, like I said, I'm not going to give my opinion on this subject, other than the fact to tell you because there's plenty of online sources you can find, government sources for the documents by the government that you can read yourself, come to your own conclusion. That's cool shot. Stonehenge. Now we're getting into where it's going to be mostly the ends of some of these stories in the ads. Because this was the time when all the New Age crap was going on. Crystals and all that stuff. Ooh, here's a cool shot. An alien mask for $65. Yeah, well, here's the thing about Bigfoot. I didn't know there was any in here. Huh. Thought it was all UFOs. Anyway. That's a cool looking shot. There's another. The only color is the front inside cover and the back inside cover, it looks like. Because there's another shot there, color one. There we can see it, read it. Treetop level. And this, of course, is an old shot. That's probably from the mid-70s, I reckon. That's what it looks like. Probably an old Polaroid. And there's the back cover. And there you go. Tell me what y'all think. If you got an opinion or comment, leave it. Like and subscribe, and later.